Welcome to a very special edition of Might Be Sports. I haven't talked to Kevin Reavy and CJ in a while. What's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
This is like Brady Bunch style.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
We have a very special guest with us, Vince Quinn. How you doing, Vince?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Vince Quinn, if you guys don't know, I don't know, currently, formerly of WIP, maybe I'll tell us that story.
Still
WIP, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So, Vince Quinn, great guy on there, very knowledgeable, guy on all sports. So, good to have you.
Hey, yeah, cool to be here, man. I'm excited.
Vince, how is the sports world for you right now with no sports? How are you dealing with this? How are you processing this?
Yeah, it's been pretty weird for me because I'm so used to being in the grind of like following that news every single day, right? Like I'm on Pro Football Talk like 10 times a day, and locally you're on NBC Sports Philly and all the different sites. You're just like digging in the news and figuring out takes and trying to watch games, highlights, all that stuff. And like when everything calms down the way it does, it's like, oh my God, like you realize how much time you really put in sports day to day. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, I actually spend 10 hours a day on sports, and now I don't do that. And it's a little bit different now. So the adjustment's been kind of harsh, but when you see all the weird things that are going on now, like all these different leagues and how they're trying to get going and all, like it gives you something to think about, and it's something we've never seen before. So like soaking all of that in has been pretty cool. And like as much as it's a bad situation, you the most watching that kind of stuff, like it's crazy and fascinating, man. I got to tell you,
it is crazy and fascinating. Like we should be watching baseball right now. Like as we're sitting here talking, we should be watching baseball.
Chinese baseball is a thing.
Chinese baseball is a big thing, yeah, but just not over here. Reavy, I know that you are definitely missing baseball right now. How are you doing right now?
Yeah, it's weird. It's one of those things because when I get home, I turn on ESPN.
Right.
There's those go-to channels, and they're all sports.
Yeah.
And it was funny. The other day, I'm sitting around, and I'm like, "What do you like?" I guess we put on the news. Like, how does that work? What do you like? What's the news? There's like a channel where I guess they just talk news, and that's the thing.
It's just one thing now. It's just
so it's hard to find. There's no channel anymore for me to go to. That's the weird realization. There's just Netflix for the most part. There's no because I can't do the old. I can't watch the old games. It's not the same thing for me.
Right.
I still have not rewatched the Eagles Super Bowl, so that's something I do have to go back and see for a second time. That I'm looking forward to, but I can't do the old rewind stuff. I can't do players playing NBA 2K. That's ridiculous. The closest I could come was NASCAR because it's pretty much the same thing. It's already
that was
boring,
horrible.
but it is what it is.
Them doing the races and the VR races.
Yeah,
that's a good background thing though. It's good to have in the background. I kind of like that. So
at least they're thinking outside the box. I mean, it's cool. I think it's cool.
But I mean, me. It's still one of the major American sports is going on right now.
Right.
And can you fill in that blank?
Baseball.
Survivor.
Oh,
come on. So Survivor is our fourth major American sport. NHL, it's fallen a little behind. They're number 5, but they're going to catch up maybe in time.
Thank God.
Survivor's still going strong. So, so we got that. That's something to look forward to. Well, only a few episodes left though, so that's concerning.
Oh, and then what are you going to do? There's nothing after that.
It's
Chinese baseball.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's what CJ told me today that Chinese baseball is a thing. So maybe I'll look into that. We'll see. Desperate times, desperate measures.
So, are you watching German Big Brother? Since they don't know about the coronavirus yet.
Oh, that's a thing. Right. German Big Brother.
Yeah. They don't know about coronavirus.
I don't know. That's interesting.
They're not allowed to tell them.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I would watch the episode where they find out.
Yeah, the episode where they get out and be like, so you've just been locked in a house for I forget, what's it, 60 days? So you got to go to your house and be locked in by yourself now?
It's not fun. Dude, I mean, I'm struggling with this. This is I mean, I'm still having fun at home doing this. My thing was always I'm not an alcoholic because I don't drink at home. Well, now I don't know what I am anymore because I mean, it just is what it is at this point. I don't know how I'm going to come out on the back end of this, but I hope in some ways I'm a better person. But so far, it's just all downhill.
It's hard, man. I don't drink really at all, and I've been drinking more, I guess, but it's just the whole idea of just being home this much and having, because me, it's always traffic in and out of here for me 5 days a week, and there's none of that now. It's like calm, quiet. It's cool, but like it was really cool for like week 1. Since it's just been like, well, what am I doing? What are we doing? When is this going to end? And what's going to be the new normal? And I'm seeing stupid things like concerts aren't coming back until fall of 2021. And I'm like, what? Like no Rage this summer? That's out of the question. Like, what does that mean for sports? What does that mean for sports with a crowd? I know that they were talking about before they shut everything down that they were going to do NBA games with no crowd, March Madness with no crowd. Baseball, I don't think ever really talked about it. They just stopped. But what do you guys think? I mean, where do you guys see this going with sports? What is the NBA going to do?
Yeah, Vince, what do you think?
Well, you got to figure. I mean, they're going to have to play without fans in the stands. I know there was a weird thing. I'm trying to remember what league it is. I don't know if it's the Chinese baseball league. There's some foreign baseball league. It's talking about putting like mannequins in the stands to get some sort of effect of just people in the crowd, which is crazy. I don't know if that really matters, but you're going to have to play without fans because the fact of the matter is they need to make money, right? Like the players want to make money, the owners want to make money, the coaches want to make money, everybody wants to make money. So they're going to have to play without fans. The big thing you're going to have to wonder about is like there's those moments where home court advantage, right? Like Philly guys, you talk about the Sixers, they're great at home. But if they don't have the court, if they don't have that same advantage because the fans are great and they actually really get into it, then are they as good at home? Like how much does that affect them? Would they get out of the first round if they don't have a home series? Like I don't feel too good about that. So those are going to be the weird things you see. Is like how much does home court and the fans, because we always talk about how much the fans matter and people mention that all the time, but like how much does that really matter? We're actually going to get a look at that, which I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm totally cool with however it changes, and we have to change with, these weird times. And it's interesting, everything that we thought we held dear before, now, the priorities kind of shift. So I'm up for whatever iteration these games take. Baseball talking about playing, in 2 spring training areas, Florida and Arizona, if that's what they end up doing. That could be cool. Double headers, triple headers, whatever they have to do. I'm cool with that. Changing the game. If they want to play 7-inning games, cool with that too. Yeah. Play around with it. It's sports. And the season will have an asterisk, and that's okay. Because it's weird times. Everything's weird. Everything's strange. No fans, cool. Just get sports on TV. Because what we're seeing right now with these horse things and, NBA 2K and drinking games, I think are things, we've got, I haven't seen Flip Cup yet, but it's coming, I'm sure. Beer pong is probably a big deal right now. Beer pong should be in right now. That's like, 10 feet apart? Beer pong could totally be a
cornhole.
Yeah, cornhole.
That's a big one.
So whatever iteration it takes, I'm cool with it. I want sports back. It's just so weird not having it around. And Vince, one thing I wanted to ask you. So with sports radio, like what are the thoughts? Are you being like kind of on the inside of that? Are people freaking out? Like are just ratings just plummeting? I would have to imagine with nobody in their cars, that's a big deal.
Well, I would figure the ratings are taking a hit. I don't look at those numbers. They don't share them with me either because, I mean, I'm a part-time guy. So, like, my number, I'm not based on numbers, which I'm thankful for that in a way because it allows me to screw around a little bit more. I can take more risks. But yeah, it is one of those weird things you think about is the fact that people aren't in the cars, and that is a big thing. So how many people are going to, I've got a smart speaker right next to me. So how many people are actually doing that to listen to the radio that aren't in the business? I don't know. I hope some people are listening because, that is my job. So I hope some people are doing it. But there's no guarantee. A lot of people are doing podcasts, books on tape, all that kind of stuff. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is there's not a lot of news and it drags on long because let's say, 2 weeks is like a fun little gimmicky, like, oh, remember those 2 weeks where we were inside and we just talked about sports history? That was great. Like, that's kind of cool. But when it goes on, if it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months, like as it drags on, then the challenge to come up with things to talk about, compelling things that really drive you somewhere sports wise, like that's not going to be so easy. And so the creativity that's going to be involved, the longer this goes on, it's going to get harder and harder and harder. And so it's a really complicated challenge for everybody right now. And it's just a question of how you can figure out solutions to get by. That's pretty much the game.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I'm kind of thinking, what you're saying there is kind of like the difference between a slump and a season. Like a slump would be like what you said. If it's a 2-week period where you talk about the history of sports, you don't have anything going on live, kind of a lull period. Whole different thing when it's 6 months and it becomes more of a season, and that really cements things a little seriously. So yeah, it's not great. I mean, I tune into WIP still. I'm still driving around doing stuff, and I mean, I still think there's always plenty to talk about, but it's just the access is not there for a lot of people. People aren't in their cars, and they're not always pulling up the radio.com app or something along those lines. So
right.
That's the tough part, but there's always stuff to talk about. I'm still going on ESPN.com. There's always crazy stories. Dak Prescott throwing, maybe a 30-person party at his house. You love to see that with the Cowboys. It's the best. I mean, it's just perfect. If you're not going to watch the Eagles, I mean, well, they wouldn't be playing now anyway, but if you're not going to see live sports, you want to see Cowboys fall flat on their face. So that's great.
Yeah. That's a great story. And here's the other thing, too, because you kind of hit on it there. And I totally agree with the idea of like how people in sports are dealing with the virus and all the fallout of that. That is incredibly fascinating. Like when it was first really going down, all the college football players, I think it was Michigan, all these guys, like 10 guys got together with an agent and they just filmed a pro day and then they sent it to everybody because they couldn't go to the teams and work out and teams weren't sending scouts out. So like, that's a creative thing they had to come up with to try to get this done. Now you've got all the GMs who are like, how am I going to navigate a Zoom chat? This is going to be impossible. So like seeing all those, and all the dumb stuff that's falling out from that, that's a fascinating thing. All of these leagues trying to figure out, like baseball's talking about doing a home run derby to solve extra inning games. Like that's a crazy thing for baseball to say, but they're talking about that right now. So you're getting to see like who all these people really are, what extremes they're willing to go to when it comes to changing the sport and how desperate they are to get it on the air. It's just all those kinds of things are great to talk about and different to talk about because the history stuff is good and you can get a lot of mileage out of that. But man, I mean, all the things that are happening now are things that we might never see this again. So how do people handle this? It's something that I really like looking at and I think is great radio. But I mean, I haven't been on in a couple of weeks. I've been sick the past couple of weeks. So I've been in the house.
You're right. Like I like hearing all of the alternative things that they're trying to figure out, and that's what overall, not just in sports, is the what I'm most looking forward to figuring out is what comes next. What comes next after this? Nobody's gone through this exact thing before, and it's just like, what happens now? And the NBA playoffs, like they're talking about just taking the teams as they are, playoff time, it winning if this all comes back. I thought I read something about the NHL maybe thinking about doing the same thing, winning if they get back up and running. It's just like, I want answers now, and that's what drives me crazy. I definitely still tune in to sports radio because, quite frankly, I can't listen to this shit all the time about coronavirus. I just can't do it. Like, usually I'll throw NPR on just to see what's going on and week 1, 2, and 3, definitely I need to know. But now it's just like, all right, all right,
Mhm.
I'm doing the best I can. You know, I don't need anything else. And that's where sports is supposed to be, that buffer from the real world and the shit that you don't want to deal with. At least the Phillies are playing tonight, or at least the Sixers look good, or you know, maybe Ben Simmons will shoot a 3 tonight, or you know, like all of these things. And now there's so many unanswered questions, specifically with the Sixers. The Flyers, big time. They looked great going into this. And the Phillies were primed up for a really exciting season as well. And, you know, it's just, God, Tom Brady's not in New England anymore. Like this NFL season is going to be awesome. Like, I need it. I need it now.
Yeah. And as all the stuff gets held up, because you get all these weird things of follow-up effect, right? Like there's a chance right now, you look at the college football season, what are the chances that they're going to play that thing, right? I mean, you're talking about like 130-something teams with over 100 kids on the roster. You can't just put them all in Vegas and play football games. You know what I mean? So like, okay, so how screwed up are things if there's no college football season? What does that mean for the NFL? Like, how do you run a draft in 2021 if there's no college football season this year? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
That's a crazy thing to think about, but that's a very real and possible thing. And so, like, as the NCAA is trying to fight this stuff for the next couple of months here, it's going to have all these other ramifications. So it's also just like, okay, what happens with this so we can know what the next thing is that we have to figure out and now solve that problem. Like, it's just one problem after another.
Right.
I almost wonder, and I mean, this is the first time I've ever thought about it, so logistically it might not work, but what if there was a scenario where, let's say they decide by July, there's no college football season. Could they open up, let's say, a supplemental draft? It's probably crazy. It's probably dumb. I'm just spitballing here. A supplemental draft, allow players to leave early from college if they want to do so. Because effectively, like you're saying, those guys can't play football. And it's going to hurt their stock, hurt their ability if they have to sit out an entire year. So if you had some sort of supplemental draft, I don't know how long it would go, how it would work, but that would be interesting to have basically 2 drafts for one season.
Well, look at it this way. You have Florida okaying sports, so all the Florida kids are going to look good in the draft since they're going to be allowed to play.
Yeah, maybe it will be regional. Maybe there are some college teams that still play. Maybe they change the scheduling. It's going to be so weird. I don't know. I never even thought about that angle.
There's certainly different areas that are obviously getting hit a lot harder by this than others. I mean, I would say you could just take the whole Northeast out of the equation at this point, as far as like hosting anything like that. But, you know, you might be able to get some things like in the Southwest or maybe in the Midwest somewhere that's not necessarily quite as populated as some of these major cities or major metropolitan areas that, you know, still has facilities that they could run something like that. But as far as college football goes, like you said, Vince, there's just too many teams. There's just too many teams. You could do that with like with Major League Baseball. You could even probably pull something like that off with the NFL or even the NBA, I suppose. But like college football, I don't see how they're going to pull that off unless they legitimately do, you know, fill those huge stadiums with nobody. I mean, I don't see how they could sell tickets. I don't see how. That loss of revenue is going to kill colleges. You know, especially big college or college football schools, Penn State, you know, Michigan, all that stuff. Where it's just, I don't know, man. These pro teams, they have each other to fall back on. Some of these schools are going to be really, really screwed by this. Even if they're not just football schools, but like schools that are real big into baseball, schools that are real big into whatever, because everything's going to be affected by it. Everything.
Yeah, and like college kids, you got this weird restriction too, right? Because they are students. Like the NCAA tournament, remember March Madness? Like the whole way that thing went down was Duke the university, the administration, they were like, our kids aren't going to that tournament. And then Kansas did the same thing. So when you got the administrations and the kids taking classes online, like, how do you justify bringing in kids to play football? You know what I mean? That's a hard thing to do. It's almost an impossible thing to do. So, like, again, all the problems that causes for the NFL. Like, it's just, you think about the draft this year and all the stress about this year, but next year's draft could be like legitimately crazy and totally unpredictable.
Right.
Yeah, especially if you have literally no film to go off of. So that'll be interesting. But
Right.
I don't know. I think,
Yeah.
So I have another bad idea. I think I solved the playoff problem. So you send one representative from each team. And the great part is we could do an NBA and NHL version of this. One representative from each playoff team. Put them on an island. Taylor, I know. CJ, you know where I'm going with this.
They play Survivor?
They play Survivor. So, we got our new seasons of Survivor, and they'll do this thing live. We'll have a live couple seasons of Survivor. It'll be great.
Wow.
Well,
that's what the people
why
want
don't
to
we
see.
go? Why don't we go a little more extreme? Since Dana White wants to get an island for UFC fights, we could make NBA NHL combat.
Let me just combine everything and bring it full circle. Dana White gets the island. All the best athletes in the world go there and they fight to the death like in Mortal Kombat.
Sounds
Battle
good.
Royale.
I love it.
I'm all about it. So
I mean, that's my idea, but I am genuinely concerned that this might affect the next Survivor season, and I'm sure it is. But have you thought about that? Like the entertainment world, like TV shows and movies, and like you can't film right now. There's going to be this huge void, or are people just going to like fast track things big time just to be the first to market on all these TV shows and movies and everything? Or there might just be a period, 6 months from now where there's nothing. There's nothing new. Or it's a bunch of garbage that's been sitting on the shelf for years. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Like there might be sports, but then we don't have Netflix because we've seen it all.
Right.
Yeah, that would be cruel. How cruel the world is that? Damn you, God! This is why I drink.
That's why everyone's
going to come back,
now.
and we'll have no Netflix. It's bullshit.
Dude, I'm powering through Netflix. Like. We're almost done Community. We watched all Ozark. We're like
Ozark was great.
Oh, Ozark's awesome.
It just consistently delivers. That show is amazing.
So good. Finished Tiger King, of course. Well, I didn't watch the new episode, but I heard it was a waste of time. So I didn't watch it. But I don't know. I'm getting stir crazy. I like movies, I like TV shows, so like it's really not a huge deal. I play a bunch of video games and stuff, but it's like I definitely miss my normal routine. I'm staying up way too late. I'm sleeping way too long. And I know that when this all comes back, it's just going to be like, I'm going to be back in like 6th grade all over again at the end of summer vacation when it's like, I got to go to bed. Like what? I got to wake up at 5 a.m. for what? Like, it's so stupid.
So when do you think we're going to see our first game? When's going to be our first professional game? What's everybody's guess? Of the potentially 4 major leagues. I mean, I have a bet going right now that there will be no NHL or NBA the rest of the calendar year. So really? I think they're done. I mean, I said Major League Baseball. I've said from the start, once you start shutting things down, it's 10 times harder to open things back up. It's very easy to shut things down. The justification is safety. The justification to open it back up for safety, it's like proving innocence over guilt. It's so much harder to prove that it's safe.
Yeah.
To prove it's unsafe, you just got to say, hey,
Well, that's where the whole no crowds come in. But then you're still. I mean, is the TV revenue going to be enough to cover putting that whole thing together? You know what I mean? I don't know the production of it because you're still going to have people there. You're still going to have to pay people to clean the locker rooms, do whatever it is that they have to do. Obviously, it'd be a way smaller scale without a crowd there. But I mean, I guess like I just feel like they could do it with nobody there and get away with it almost instantly.
Baseball seems motivated. I'm going to say June 12th, my birthday. They're going to come back. No fans, I think. I don't know.
I was going to say baseball middle of June too, because they're trying to buy a whole bunch of coronavirus tests as a league. So they're working on something.
Who knows what happens 2 months from
Right.
now, how easily available those things are and what testing even looks like in June or May. So it's going to be a whole different landscape. We don't know anything now, but I think they're very motivated to bring something back. And baseball is in a much better position right now than basketball or hockey. So I think they're going to be first sometime in June.
Yeah, baseball's in a good spot and a terrible spot, right? Because, like, they didn't get to start the season, so that sucks. They didn't make any money whatsoever. Like, NBA, NHL, they played, 60, 70 games? So, like, you got at least a little bit of something out of it. So that's good. But for baseball to have spring training and that's it, like, that's a big-time hurt for them. So it sucks in that way. But if they get it going, then, yeah, the only major American professional sport that's rolling, and, like, that's going to be a big deal. I know the NBA is pushing to get the tests and try to make it as easy as possible to test everybody. So if they can get that technology, and like if sports leagues make it happen, that's one of the fascinating things too, is like Adam Silver going to cure the coronavirus or like fix testing in America. If he figures that out and baseball can figure that out, then yeah, I can see them playing games in July. Like that whole idea of the Florida League and the Arizona League, and you split the league like that. That could work. I think that's something that's fairly sensible as far as all this goes. So, I hope they can get it done by July.
Yeah, I'm going baseball for sure, to play first, but I would say nothing before July 1st. That's
what do you think, CJ?
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm sticking with you around the middle of June.
Yeah.
Since I feel like baseball is working hard on trying to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
Since they're talking about the Florida and Arizona, they're trying to buy tests for the players. I think they really need to buy the blood test to see what players have already had it, so they can just be like, all right, go on your way and get it out there, instead of the next ones where they have to keep testing them.
Right.
And I don't see any reason why we won't see, UFC, boxing, something like that. If you can run a WWE event, but you can't do UFC, I don't understand that. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I know they shut it down. It was a whole, corporate ESPN, Disney deal, shutting down the whole Fight Island idea. But I think eventually that is the one sport that makes the most sense. If you have, 4 fights, you'd only have to test 8 fighters. And it's a one-on-one game. I guess, you have 2, 3 judges.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a whole lot of interaction. You don't have to have any fans at all. You just do it straight up, just like WWE did. You have 2 announcers sitting 6 feet apart just outside the ring. You're good to go.
What about golf? What about PGA?
Well, yeah, I'm wearing the William Murray duds.
I see that.
The Lost Masters.
Of course, I know the Masters.
What else do I wear? So
why wouldn't they do anything with golf right now? Like, they don't need a crowd there. They don't need a crowd for golf.
Well, right now it's more of it's just an optics thing, I think, right now. Even if you could do a UFC event right now, but it's an optics thing. They just they can't do it because it just looks weird. It just feels weird. It doesn't feel like the right time.
Yeah.
So golf is going to be one of those that does make a ton of sense. You don't need any fans out there. I mean, you're naturally apart. You can even do it without a caddy. It would be very interesting to see these guys just, hey, give them golf carts or just make them haul the clubs. That would be awesome. I want to see that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
The caddy just drops the club on the ground and makes the guy come over and get it, so they maintain a safe social distance from each other.
That would be amazing. And see how many guys carry like a Happy Gilmore type bag, like their great grandfather's bag with because it's a weight of the bag is going to come into play. So you might have to.
Well, do you think
skimp on those things?
Do you think that the PGA might beat Major League Baseball to be the first to do something?
I don't know.
Think about it, they could do something internationally as well.
Yeah, you know what? Well, they're already talking about like a Tiger Phil thing or like one of those exhibition type deals, which, again, that's one of those things. You get 10 guys and I'm in. Like, I'm totally in. 10 guys, 4 cameramen, and they just go play a skins match. Like, that'd be great. I would love that.
would be, yeah, I'd be in on that for sure.
Yeah, they should give it a go. It all lays out, and for the most part, in a way, they don't want fans, right? You want to be quiet when the guy's hitting the ball anyway.
Right.
So the players will be like, "Yeah, this is great." So yeah, they should go for it.
Well, Florida for the win. Golf courses are open.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Clubhouses aren't, golf courses are. So you can play the course, you can't go in the clubhouse.
Florida
I would love
becomes the next epicenter for this shit.
Would make sense. It is Florida.
Vince,
Yeah.
Vince, real quick before we get out of here, tell me a little bit about your blog. I was cruising through your Twitter. The Spark.
Yeah. Spark is brand new. I mean, I started it last week, so I launched it last Monday. It's going to be a sports pop culture blog. What I'm doing is I've got I was getting submissions online. I just put it out there. I was like, hey, if you're a younger guy or just anybody that wants to get in the media, you're looking for a place to try out some stuff, or you haven't gotten a shot before and you want to get it, like, hit me up. So I got a bunch of people that reached out, mostly people who've been with blogs in some way, some play-by-play people. So interesting people all across the country. I got a guy in Detroit, guy in Kansas City, so all over the place. And I just called all those people today and let them know that I'm in with them. So there's going to be about 8 or 9 of us all on this site. We're going to be doing all sorts of stuff. I'm doing I was doing a sports history podcast a couple of years ago, and that went by the wayside. So now that's coming back. I'm actually going to do an episode this week on Yogi Berra. So I'm looking forward to doing all of that, because Yogi Berra's career and life are just ridiculous. So I'll be doing that. So a lot of great projects, podcast writing from a lot of interesting people, new, young people. And that's going to be going on at the Spark. So yes, spark-blog.com. That's where you find all that.
Excellent. Awesome. That's great. And you can follow Vince on Twitter at It's Vince Quinn. Make sure you go check him out and go check out the Spark. Everybody, thank you guys so much for sitting down and talking some sports. I'm hoping that Reavy and CJ are right. I'm hoping sometime in the middle of June we got some sports. Maybe July. We'll see, but it can't be all summer, right? Like it can't be all summer, right? It can't happen.
I don't know.
No.
Luckily, we still got Survivor. There's still a few episodes left. So I mean, it's not.
If it's all summer, it's time for the purge. If it's all summer, it's purge time. People will lose their freaking minds if there's no baseball or anything going on. I mean, right now it's manageable, but another 3 weeks of this, it might be purge time. I'm just throwing that out there. Just sound the alarms, the big, sirens and shit. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Make sure you check this out wherever you hear your podcasts, as well as checking us out on mbnnetwork.com. It's never been easier for you to find your new favorite podcast. We're doing game nights every Friday night on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, so make sure you check that out. We got some trivia going on this week. Not sure the topic yet. I'm working on that. But it's going to be fun. We have a lot of fun doing it. Also, make sure you check out our sponsors at eunomiacbd.com. Use our promo code MBN. Get 20% off, free shipping and free shit. That's still going on, even in a pandemic. So make sure you get your hands on some CBD. It might help you with whatever ails you. So, guys, thank you so much for taking the time, for being here. Reavy, CJ, fantastic job as always. Vince Quinn, thank you so much for being with us, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This was fun.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you guys soon.